Our Plant Stories has been nominated as a finalist in the Independent Podcast Awards in a new category called Environment and Natural World. I'll let you know how we get on. Thanks to all those who are regular supporters of the podcast with their commitment to buying a monthly coffee. And to Anne, who also sent some caffeine my way this month, all of which goes towards paying for this podcast, the hosting platform and the editing programme. The link is in the show notes. And now, a plant story. Welcome to Our Plant Stories. I wanted to share with you that we were a finalist in the 2024 Independent Podcast Awards, which was great fun, and I met so many creative podcasters. You can find out more on the blog. As we draw towards the end of Series 2, I have a couple of offshoot episodes for you. I live in a city, and over the past few years I've become increasingly interested in how people plant gardens in tiny pockets within urban spaces, and the impact that those spaces can have on us. So you won't be surprised that I'm a fan of parks in the sky, highlines. Perhaps the most famous is the New York High Line, opened in 2009. It was apparently inspired by another elevated urban park built in the late 1980s on an obsolete train line above the city of Paris, the Promenade Printemps, and I've been lucky enough to visit both. But what about in the UK?
Despite the trams, despite being in the city centre, it does feel really calm and peaceful up here, and it feels like you do come up out of the bustle and the hustle and bustle, of the city, and you can actually have some kind of calm time up here.
That's Kate Picker, who is an experienced and programming manager for the National Trust, and the Castlefield Viaduct in Manchester is one of her sites. Originally opened in 1893, the part we are standing on is now a garden, which was installed in 2022. Kate, we're here on a slightly grey day. It has actually been raining, and we waited till it stopped, didn't we? But you are clutching an umbrella. And we are beside a very busy tram line. There we go. There's a tram just going past us now.
Yep.
Bury via Market Street, and there's another one going the other way as well. But I'm standing in this beautiful green space. I'm on a viaduct, I'm high up, I'm looking out over Manchester, I'm standing beside a pond. Tell me a little bit about the history of this viaduct and how it came to be what it is now.
Yeah, so this is actually the Relief Viaduct. The viaduct that the trams are running on next to us is slightly older than this one. And the train lines coming through on these bridges, and we're going into Manchester Central Station and into the Great Northern Goods Warehouse, both of which are still active, but as other things. And they were both built in the 1890s. And it was just the height of, industrialisation, and Manchester was full of people and goods coming in and out, particularly between Manchester and Liverpool, Manchester and London, but all over the place. And this was one of the key main lines into the city. And they shut in 1969 when the central station shut as part of the beach enclosures. And when the Metrolink came in, that bridge went back into use again, but this bridge had been just left ever since, up until we arrived in 2022.
So describe what it looked like in 2022.
Essentially, there was some plants on it. Nature finds a way, doesn't it? A lot of buddleia and things like that you quite often find. And it was fenced off at both ends. People did get onto it. We've got graffiti that we can see. So people did get on, and they did kind of access it, but not officially. And every now and again, they would come and clear some of the larger trees if they thought it was going to have impact on the structure. So I think they did clear it occasionally. But yeah, a few kind of low, there's not very much soil depth on the viaduct itself, so nothing too big, but kind of a lot of sort of common plants that you'd find, like buddleia and things like that.
So if I were to come up here on a sunny day, not that I mind the rain, but what might I see going on?
We've got like a hedge that kind of creates a reveal for the viaduct as you come on, and you'll see what we call the naked viaducts, which is where we've left the sides of the viaduct what's grown there is what grew naturally from after we'd done the work to construct the site. So it would have been the natural kind of seed and things that were in there. So you can still get a feel for what was here before we put this garden on. And it also lets you see a more open structure. So it really lets you get the feel for, because it's actually a really beautiful structure with lots of overheads. And it's very interesting to look at in and of itself, the viaduct. And then as you come up, you come to we've got a kind of sounds area where we've got a kind of track that plays, and we've got our new workshop space. You come to those first, and then you come to our 4 partner plots, and then we've got some planters that we've sort of planted as National Trust kind of more high horticultural planters at the back, and then we have our building space at the end where you can kind of tell us how you feel. You can have a chat to the team if you've not had a chance to speak to someone already, ask questions, and you can see beyond. You can see what the rest of the viaduct looks like. So we're only about halfway down, and it gives you an idea of where hopefully we would like to go in the future.
So how did the National Trust, who we don't associate with an urban space like this, in my mind I've got very large parks and houses and gardens and open space, come to choose to do this?
So the National Trust does have an urban strategy, and actually when you look right back to its founding in 1895, it was founded off the back of industrialisation. So it was around the urbanisation, the move from living rurally to living in industrial cities, and that both removing green spaces and also moving people from the countryside. And Octavia Hill and the other founders really believe that people should have access to green spaces, and in particular working class people should have access to green spaces, and that's somewhat of the principle on which the Trust was founded, to protect and conserve those green spaces and give people access to them. And that's still the core remit of the charity, is to protect, conserve and give access to. Now we also look after heritage buildings, and so now it's sort of both green spaces and heritage. So although we're not really associated with urban areas, it's actually quite a core foundational part of the organisation to deliver access to green space. And we know that green space access is only getting worse and worse, and we also know that people are increasingly, again, we're still urbanising. So I think some of the statistics I've seen are something like 80-85% of people live in urban areas now, and that could be going up to 90% by 2030. And green space in urban areas is a very precious commodity. So we still see it as part of our remit to step in, whether that's to deliver something like the viaduct or to work in partnership, that there are things that we can do as an organisation to support that access to green space in urban areas. And that's why we're here.
When I first came here, this is my second visit, I love it, I really love it. It was very obvious that this was not something where you kind of walked in and said, right, we're going to plant the whole thing. There were various signs that different community groups had been involved. So tell me how that worked.
So one of our key community partners is Castlefield Forum, and Castlefield Forum worked huge amounts in the local area, and they've wanted something up here for a long time. So they've been with us since the beginning, and a member of the forum sits on our project board. So we've worked with them, I think, pretty much since this was kind of being thought about. And then the other community groups have kind of come along the way. So we started with a partner plot from Castlefield Forum and City of Trees, who aim to plant, I think it's 3 million trees, one for every person in Greater Manchester, I believe. And then they've been with us since we opened. And then So the City's garden that we're standing in with this lovely pond, and Hume Community Garden Centre's plot opposite, they've been here since December of 22, January 23. They kind of came around then. And then we do a lot of other partnership working as well. But it is, and what our partners bring is really important. So the City, for example, they do a lot of social prescribing. So they run their social prescribing sessions from the viaduct, from this plot. Some of them they do stuff all over Manchester, but they've also worked with us off-site. So we have off-site partners too. We've done a lot of work with partnership with 42nd Street, with MASH, Manchester Action for Sex Health Workers, with Guidance Hub, which is a multi-faith allotment in Cheetham Hill. And we're sort of working both on the viaduct with community partners, but also off-site as well, around some sort of supporting people to green their spaces across Manchester. And we have a new community workshop, which I must mention, which is we put on, opened in February, and that's available for any community group to come and use for up to 8 to 10 people. It's got a workshop bench space, it's got some equipment and things where people can bring equipment with them too, and they just need to get in touch with us if they want to hold a workshop there, and that could be for their group, or it could be if they want to have a workshop with the public, the visiting public, but we're keen to welcome people to use that space. So just go on the website and email us if you would like to use our community space. If you're a community group, we can offer it you for free. So.
If you enjoy our plant stories, I'm going to ask you to rate and review it on your podcast app. Think algorithms, because the more people who rate and review it, the more likely it is that the episodes will be suggested to other people who like plant podcasts. Do you have a favourite spot on the viaduct?
We're kind of in it. I do really like the pond. It's just I think because it's a bit unexpected, even more so than everything else that's there. It's like a pond, you've got a pond, so the city's pond definitely. And then I always really like, we've got the sort of the grasses in the centre as you come up, sort of designed to look a bit like steam. I always really like just running my hand through those as I walk past. Every time I might just give them a little brush. I always enjoy doing that. But I the whole thing's lovely.
Should we take a walk down it? Because it stopped kind of raining. I know, which is amazing. That's because we had your umbrella.
Yes.
Wow. So we're looking up at skyscrapers, really, aren't we, as well?
Yeah.
And you were saying when this started,
yes,
there was just one skyscraper, and we're now looking at two.
We're now looking at two. Yeah. There was just the Hilton, and now the apartment block behind it's gone in. So yeah.
So these are the grasses that you're pointing out, and they are very tactile, aren't they?
I like to do that as I go past.
They're beautiful, aren't they?
Give it a little sway your hands through.
Yeah, that. Well, I think anything that you can, touch or, and get close to, and I mean the you've got silver birch trees, which I'm slightly obsessed by, having made a program about them, and I'm now seeing them everywhere. But you really see bird life in them, don't you?
Yes, yeah, we do. Yeah, we see quite a bit. Yeah. In fact, Ted, who's up here today, has been doing quite a lot of work of photographing all the different types of birds that we've got and things like that. So yeah, we are tracking what we've got up here, and we do. I mean, we get a lot of what you'd expect. We do get the pigeons, but we also get a lot of smaller birds, songbirds as well. So we do get quite a bit of wildlife, and we have ecology surveys, which are sort of indicating that we've not, we've only enhanced the kind of what's available for wildlife and what species are up here, which is great. And we have bats as well as underneath there's a roost. We don't get loads, we only get a few. It's not a full family roost, but we do get some bats up here in the evening as well, and we survey them.
And this is your soundscape?
Yes, this is our soundscape.
Very peaceful.
Yes, it really is.
And then I love this. This is the workshop area, so you can come and garden with people. It's got everything you need.
Yes,
to grow seeds.
To grow some and do some sort of plant gardening-based workshops. So if that's something that an organisation wants to do as a community offer, so it needs to be a free community offer, they're very welcome to get in touch with us about using the space.
That's wonderful. I love that.
Yeah, it holds about 8 to 10 people.
I was talking to someone the other day on interviewing someone who was just saying it doesn't matter how old you are, planting seeds is just magic.
Yeah.
Whether you're 3 or whether you're 93, that kind of magic of when they emerge is just incredible.
Yeah, and then nurturing it as it grows.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then we're now walking into the part where really it's as it was when you took it on. Blackbird, yeah, lovely.
Yes, yeah, most of this, it's interesting, we think because we turn the seed, you can see a difference between what's here and then what's in the bit of the viaduct beyond. We've got a bit more going on here, possibly because we turn the soil, but yeah, everything in here came up from what was already, we didn't add planting in this area. It's having a nice little time, that
That'd be lovely, isn't it? Completely unbothered by the trams or anything else, or us. And then you've got the kind of buddleias that you always associate with train tracks, don't you? You always think of those, you see them from trains.
Yeah, not surprising. Yeah, they get blown, don't they, the seeds? Yeah, we do get those.
It's amazing how the girders really are quite beautiful, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. We believe that it's probably got more than it needs as well. So as well, some of them are structural. There's also maybe a bit of aesthetic. This is one of the entrances into Manchester. You want it to look good, and the crisscross might look a bit familiar because it was made by the same company that built Blackpool Tower.
Oh, amazing. Wow. So they didn't actually need this number of girders. It was more about kind of slightly...
Apparently not, yeah. Apparently, apparently it is probably a slightly higher number than you would need. So, we do believe there might have been some aesthetic in it as well as practical structural.
Are there challenges with planting up here this high?
Yes. Yeah. My gardener could tell you more than I can, but one we did find we were in our first year here and we planted some bulbs for spring, and we discovered that the bulbs that we'd planted rats really enjoyed them, so they got eaten by the rats. So we planted different bulbs this year and it's all been fine. And so there've been little surprises like that. And our gardener's been kind of monitoring what's done well and what hasn't. But we've got a little bit of a microclimate, I believe, up here. I think we are apparently our air quality is a little bit better. She's been tracking some of that, and so she started to learn where the microclimates are and where things are cooler than you might expect or warmer than you might expect. And we weren't sure how much the wind was going to impact us and things like that. So it's definitely been a learning experience for our garden team.
How big is your garden team?
So we have one gardener, Nancy, our senior gardener. Our team help out our on-site team, and we have some really, really brilliant volunteers as well who come up, and they've really, really worked hard and done a lot. And then our partners also come up and look after their plots and keep their plots looking nice too.
What surprised you most about the viaduct?
How peaceful it is. Despite the trams, despite being in the city centre, it does feel really calm and peaceful up here, and it feels like you do come up out of the bustle and the hustle and bustle of the city, and you can actually have some kind of calm time up here. The extent of how that feels always surprises me, and how much you tune the trams out, and actually just it does feel restorative, I think.
That's really interesting, because I came here last year, end of last year, and if you were to ask me about it, I was like, oh yeah, I must think about the trams when we're recording, because there's quite a lot of trams, but I hadn't thought about it. In my head I don't hear them.
No, and they're not loud engine based, they're electric, they're kind of whoosh past rather than doing anything too noisy. So I think it does really, you can tell. Sometimes we have offices just in the city centre, and when you're walking across the city, and it's great, it's a lot of energy to Manchester, it's lots going on, but sometimes it's good to get a little breather from that, and I think this really, really offers that opportunity.
Do you see that in people's behaviour up here?
Yeah, people do seem pretty calm up here. Everyone's very, have a nice stroll. They like looking at the plants. Yeah, I think we do, and we certainly see it. We have a board in the building that you can write on the wall and say what you think, and a lot of people will say calm, quiet, peaceful, restored. That's when we ask them how they feel. That's generally the response that we get.
And where do they come from to visit? I mean, are they mainly people in Manchester? Are they coming from further afield? What do you think?
A bit of both. So we do see most of about 60%, 70%, 60% of our visitors come from Manchester or Greater Manchester, because we do track all of this. And then we get about 11-12% of international visitors as well, and then the rest from the rest of the UK. So we do see tourists visiting Manchester seeing us as one of the spaces to come and see while you're here, which is great as well. But the majority of our visitors have come from Manchester and Greater Manchester, which is great, because that was the voice that we wanted. But it's lovely that people are coming from further afield, and we're welcoming people from all over the world, which is brilliant. I hope that continues.
Have you been to any other viaducts?
I haven't. I would love to go to the High Line. If someone would love to go to the High Line, it's just going to New York. But yeah, I haven't known that. And the one in Paris as well sounds really interesting. So I would very much like to. I
think it's a specialism, isn't it? You really need to go and visit all the other High Lines just to kind of, really embed that.
I definitely would love to go to New York. So.
The process of bringing all these planters up here must have been incredible, building here.
It was quite a process, yeah. We were very well supported by Manchester Central, because that's their car park out there, and Transport for Greater Manchester, who own the car park, Manchester Central, who lease it from them, were both really, really supportive in helping us. The planters are actually quite light, they're core 10, because we do have to be careful of weight up here. So they look heavy because they're metal, but they're not as heavy as they look. I think the really interesting one was when, I wasn't here when they did this, but they craned the building in from the bowl down underneath us. They had to get a crane it up over the viaduct between
The girders.
The girders in sections and then put the sections together. So I believe that was quite a feat. We have a lot of people who come because they've seen it from the tram. I mean, I did. I lived in South Manchester my whole life. And when you came in, you would see this space and think, oh, I wonder what that could be. And you could see bits growing on it. And I think quite a lot of people had always wondered if there was something that could be done with it, and seen it over the years. Well, since 1969 has been this empty space. So we do get a lot of people who pop on, and they can just walk down from Deansgate Castlefield tram station and come in for free. So yeah, they're like, oh, I've seen it from the tram, I'm going to come and have a look.
Does it make you look at other disused urban spaces in a different way now?
Yeah, it does a bit, yeah. And I think we have had visits from people within the UK, and we talked about the Camden High Line, places like that, where there's potential, who've come and had a look at what we've done. So I think we do have this old architecture and these sort of really interesting spaces that are created in cities, and I think it's nice to not just pull them down and get rid of them. They're part of the heritage and the fabric of the city, and I think if we can repurpose them, and also that's better from an environmental perspective as well, to use something that's already here rather than building something from scratch. I think there's it's a valuable thing to do.
You can check the opening hours of the viaduct on the National Trust website. A planning application for Phase 2 has been submitted. I'll put some links on ourplantstories.com, but this would extend the walk from 150 metres to over 350 metres. Under the plans, the gold medal winning Water Aid Garden from this year's RHS Chelsea Flower Show would also be relocated to this new section. One thing that strikes me about gardens like this, or the proposed Camden High Line, is the tenacity and determination of those who make them happen. I've written several times on the blog about the Camden High Line, and recently I got to walk the route with the CEO of the High Line, Simon Pitt-Keithley. That episode will be coming soon. And I'm currently starting to record Series 3 of the podcast, so if you have a plant story that you'd like to share, I'd love to hear from you. You can email me, sally@ourplantstories.com. This is an independent podcast presented and produced by me, Sally Flatman. Thank you for listening. If you want to show your support for this podcast via Buy Me a Coffee, then the link is in the show notes or on the website, ourplantstories.com. I promise you, your virtual coffee will go towards the podcast, not plants.